A2CN Live, you know it's our favorite time. Turn it up and listen up and let's go take a dive. It's the show that does the most, and yes, we're streaming coast to coast. Bump it up and buckle up and let's go take a drive. Engaging the culture and sending our sense. Too many reasons we gotta speak in. 3 Dazy, Rosie, still relevant. For college students, ladies and gents, relating, connecting, reflecting, very thought-provoking. Acts to life, yeah, that's right. A2CN Live right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to A2CN Live. We're your hosts. My name is Steven.
I'm Esther.
And I'm Johnson.
Hi, Johnson. Good to have you back. A2CN is an online Christian organization reaching college students everywhere. We're creating content and community for students to talk about God, the Bible, life, and meaning over the internet. And today on A2CN Live, the topic is, why are Christians so exclusive? Wow, that's a question a lot of people have, maybe because of personal experience or something they saw in the news. We're going to try to tackle that question. But before we get to that, we've got some back-to-school tips. Nice.
Yeah, so last week we shared some stories about what we were like starting college, and this week we thought we'd share some helpful tips since a lot of you are in the full swing of things now. So Steven, what you got for us?
I have 2 words, Q-tip. No, my 2 words are student deals. Student deals, that's my word. Amazon Prime, Uni Days. If you don't know what Uni Days is, you're not doing school right, okay? So you can get tons of free software on your laptop, either for free from your school or even for cheap, because there's education pricing. So please, people, make your tuition count and get your student deals. That's my very passionate back-to-school tip.
If you don't know what Uni Days is, that's okay because I think it might just be an old person thing. It does exist though. You should check it out.
If you want free AirPods. Go check it out.
My back-to-school tip is to get noise-canceling headphones if they're in the budget. If they're not in the budget, then foam tips for your earbuds basically work as like earplugs. So it's like earplugs, but then you can still hear your music. They're great. And that's good because it helps you with concentration and focus when you have like a noisy environment. So roommates or noisy family or whatnot. So
wow, so my tip is the old person tip.
That is exactly correct.
Well, my tip feels kind of lame now.
No, it's good. Go ahead.
I'm going to share it anyway. So my tip is, don't stress yourself out in planning ahead. I downloaded a 4-year college plan template where I mapped out which classes I would take every single semester for the fall, spring, summer. And while it's good to plan, hold on to your plans loosely. I had many versions of my 4-year plan by the time I graduated because I changed my major, summer plans changed. So, just don't stress out too much.
Wow.
Great tip. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
You guys don't like it. All right, well, moving on with our planned schedule, I'm happy to introduce the return of one of our favorite segments, TART, Talks About Random Things. And this week, we'll be hearing from Serena about something we often miss, the difference between a million and a billion. Let's roll it.
What's the difference between a million and a billion?
Hey Kim, what are you doing right now?
I'm about to check Instagram.
I'm eating cookie dough.
Oh, hey Serena, I'm really sorry, but I can't talk right now. I have a billion things to do.
I love cookie dough. This is like my millionth piece today.
Oh my gosh, I literally just got like 1 million likes on my last photo.
Wait, really?
I mean like 200.
Have you ever actually thought about the difference between a million and a billion? This is 1 million, and this is 1 billion. The difference is in 3 zeros. Here's some visuals to help us think about the difference. And I actually did the math for these, so trust me. And for those of you who know I'm horrible at math, don't worry, I had someone check my numbers. 1 million inches would get you from LAX to Bel Air. 1 billion inches would get you from LAX all the way to Ethiopia. And that's if you go across the Pacific. Here's another one. 1 million seconds is 11.5 days, and 1 billion seconds is 31.7 years. 1 million seconds ago was just last week. 1 billion seconds ago was the end of 1988. I wasn't even born yet. Isn't it interesting that just because these words sound the same, we categorize them together and we practically use them interchangeably? When things get to that scale, it's hard for us to wrap our minds around it, but those 3 zeros actually make a huge difference. Think about the difference in wealth. A millionaire versus a billionaire, or population, the US versus India. A simple exercise like this puts into the right perspective the kinds of numbers we hear every day on social media, in the news, or even in class. We don't always understand the gravity of the numbers we see, but I hope this gives you some kind of perspective. And that's the TART for the day.
Wow, mind blown.
Yeah.
Yep, never mind. And now we're going to have another polite internet discussion of Flame War. For those of you who weren't with us last time, it's really simple. We're going to ask a question, and you share your opinion about it in the chat. And there's only one rule, which is play nice. So
Yeah, play nice, Justin.
wait,
Whoa, called out.
that was actually
His
Steven.
name is actually Johnson.
Oh,
so-
Johnson. That's right.
Our first so this is like the food edition. Our first question is water wet? The answer is, what is the answer?
No, it's not wet.
I think it's wet.
The thing
It's
that
like an
it touches
inherent
gets wet.
characteristic of water. Anyway,
Anybody?
We're just waiting for the comments. Oh, wow.
All right, what just
moving on. Next question.
Let's move on.
Next question. Clearly, people are so mind blown and confounded. Let's just move on.
Next question
Yes,
is,
Jeff.
what is the ideal shape of a French fry? There are many different types of French fries.
Wow.
Some including home fries, smiley fries, waffle cut fries, crinkle cut fries, sweet potato fries, potato wedges, pomme soufflé.
Pomme soufflé?
Yeah, it's like this great French thing. I've never had them, but they look awesome. And there's like a bunch of others.
Curly fries.
Curly
Isn't
fries.
where like French fries from France? Isn't that?
There's
they
like
know?
debate about whether it's from Belgium or from. They're like Belgian fries, which are apparently really good.
I thought French fries were made in Greece. got you. Yes, I got him.
They're made
All
in
right. Well, we
Greece.
got people saying curly fries, steak fries, Chick-fil-A waffle fries. Yes, that's me right here. Yeah.
Our
Asian
next
fries,
question.
pomme de frites.
Our next
I don't know how to say
question
that. I'm sorry.
is how crispy should bacon be? The answer is yes.
No.
Look, if you're not crisping your bacon, you're basically eating ham. So why not just eat ham?
If you're crisping your bacon to the point where you're eating it like chips, you don't know how to cook bacon. You probably burned it.
Okay, well if it's not crispy, your bacon's not cooked, and
Yeah,
it's
guys, you're supposed to
uncooked,
play nice.
and you're gonna get food
It's
poisoning.
flexible. It's not steak, all right? It's just bacon.
Just
Let's
bacon.
not talk about steak. Wow, look at this. Crispy yet flexible.
Need 'em
Need 'em
crispy.
crispy.
Soggy.
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 Oh.
Crispy.
Crispy, soft in the middle.
I'm not judging
Chewy
you, by the
but
way.
cooked. I agree with you, Kevin.
Chewy, oh
Whoever
man,
you
all
are.
these
Bacon that's
chewy bacon, that is
on the outside.
absurd. But you're all entitled to your opinion, and I'm sure you're all great people, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, now that we're all hating each other and feeling excluded, what a perfect segue to our topic of the week. Why are Christians so exclusive? This is a question a lot of people have and ask these days, right? And I think when people ask this question, I think they mean kind of different things, you know? All right, so in one sense, I think people are asking, why does Christianity shut out people unfairly? Like, what's the deal with that, right? Seems kind of random, kind of like, can you really do that, you know? Crispy bacon, whatever bacon, right? Really, we're going to make a big deal out of that. So I think that's one sense in which people are asking, why does Christianity shut out people unfairly? But I think another thing people are saying is, why do Christians think they have the only way? I want to explore that first, okay? Christians thinking their religion is right and Jesus is the only way to heaven. I mean, that all sounds really, really exclusive. It sounds really bad, but it is what Christians believe, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the nature of truth, is that if something's true, then the thing that is in conflict with it is not true. And yeah, that's just kind of how it is.
Thanks for your input, Johnson.
Anytime.
Yeah, so all truth is mutually exclusive. So, for example, if you believe there is many gods, then you're saying that the Christian who believes in one God is wrong. And only one of you can be right. There can't be one God and many gods. It's either one or the other.
Right, so Christians believe there's one God. Hinduism allows for many gods. And Buddhists actually don't believe in God. Buddhism is atheistic. And so we can't just say, like, everybody's right, because everyone's saying something different from each other and it's clashing, right? So instead, I think we should ask, which one's true? It might be one of them. It might be none of them. But let's weigh the evidence. Let's look at those arguments and let's see which of these is true. And I think that would be a very fair, reasonable response, right? And so we actually asked one of our friends, Trevor, if we could interview him and if he could share his story with us, because it really fits with this topic we're talking about today. So let's go ahead and watch that.
All right. Hey, Trevor. Hello. How's it going?
Going well. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for making time for this interview for A2CN
my
Live.
pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
pleasure.
If you could just introduce yourself, where are you going to college right now? What are you studying? And where are you right now? You know, your hometown. Yeah, just give us a little bit of an intro.
Yeah, my pleasure. Hello, everyone. My name is Trevor. I go to UC Berkeley, and I'm starting my third year. There, I'll be studying history. And let's see, right now, I'm in my hometown, which is in Southern California, in a little town called Barstow. It's the midway point of LA and Vegas, so a lot of frequent stops through here for folks.
And I think it'd be really helpful before we jump into your story, for people to kind of know your religious background. You didn't grow up in the church, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I did grow up around Christianity. Pretty much everyone I knew had a belief in God. They affirmed the story of Jesus. But even though folks around me were Christians, I actually was an atheist for most of the time that I considered my own religious beliefs. I thought that kind of the belief of God was obsolete in a sense. I thought that science had answered so many questions, and so many questions that folks used to answer with God could easily be explainable by science. So that's pretty much how that happened.
So the question we're trying to talk about today is, why are Christians so exclusive? We're kind of talking about it from the angle of like Christians thinking they have the only answer. I'm just really curious, before you became Christian, while you're an atheist, you know, how did you feel about that?
I actually didn't have much of an issue with it. I do know now that is that can be a significant hang up for folks. But yeah, like I said, it was never really a big issue for me. And I think the reason for that was because I wanted to believe what was right. And I already had an idea of there is one truth and everything else is not that, right? There either is a God or there isn't, right? Two can't be true at the same time. And so with that does come exclusivity. And I mean, I recognize that in myself. I kind of walked around saying, I don't believe in God. And I was making an exclusive claim, right? That's something that's very confrontational to a lot of people who do believe in God, if you walk around and say that. And, you know, if I'm being honest, I was a little smug and snarky about it. I kind of enjoyed going against the grain. And so, yeah, I mean, I think the issue of exclusivity, it was not only was it not much of a problem, but it was already something that I was used to.
So then tell me how a smug atheist teenager became interested in Christianity and even began to investigate it. Yeah, tell me a little bit about how that journey happened.
Yeah, I'd love to. I started to think like, okay, let's see if, like, I understand what people mean by God, and if maybe this God is, you know, above my comprehension. So maybe it's not in my power or comprehension to even say that he doesn't exist. So it just seemed a little too hard to be conclusive on that answer. And also I mean, I started to really see the cracks in taking a scientific, or you might say naturalistic worldview, which is, you know, science definitely has bounds, and it wasn't addressing the deeper issues that I was having with life, and deeper parts of life that I knew to be true. I came to UC Berkeley, and I ended up meeting these Christians who, man, they showed me something that I had never seen before. And that was just very powerful and solid arguments for the existence of God and the Christian faith.
So what were some of the things that they said? Was there a few arguments that really stood out to you?
Yeah. I mean, right off the bat, I can think of the moral argument for the existence of God. I thought that was so powerful. And to this day, I think so. And I mean, I remember when I was meeting with the guy who I was discussing these things with, I distinctly remember looking him in the eye and shaking his hand and going, I think I believe that God exists now. And
wow,
it was that powerful. Yeah. And I think also another thing that was something that really struck me was the historical evidence for Jesus's life, death, and resurrection. That I didn't really think that this was something that was that can be historically demonstrated or proven. And so again, that was really powerful. And if I could just speak on this, I've only given a couple things that were convincing. There were many other things that I found convincing, and I think it's important to kind of take all the evidence together collectively and hold the weight. It's not just one argument that will sell you. It's usually the weight of them all. So yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to capture sort of the intellectual journey you took. And for all of you who don't know what the moral argument is for the existence of God, or you don't know what the historical evidence is for the life and death and resurrection of Jesus, we put some links in the description that you can look at later. I think that those are really fascinating. There's tons of resources out there for stuff like that. And so, yeah, so it seems like you got to a point intellectually where you were like, okay, this might be true. There's still like another step you need to take to like personally decide I'm going to become a Christian, you know? So maybe you can speak into that. How did that happen?
The thing that was interesting about it was that when I started to read the word and hear the word, I realized that Christianity was accurately describing my own condition. I mean, the likes of which I had never encountered before. And it was very upfront and plain. Christianity just, it holds no punches. And when it says that we are all sinners, and yeah, it kind of blew me back. But at the same time, I was like, and I know this is true. It was not hard for myself to see me as a sinner. And I knew that, I mean, I had wronged people in the past, and you know, whether that was kind of selfishness or hatred towards friends, or just ways that I'd wronged my family. And I mean, even in the ways that I had interacted with girls, I mean, it was not hard at all to see that I was a sinner. And then when I saw that at the core of myself was a sinner, and that there is no escaping that, the story of Jesus that I had known for a long time, even from when I was little, as I had explained earlier, the story that, you know, Jesus died on the cross for my sins, it clicked. And I was just, it was incredible to know that there was a way to be made right in the eyes of God, and just to feel the grace and the forgiveness that God had given me through Jesus. And when my heart, my mind, my experience, when it all clicked, I knew that I needed to put my faith in Jesus. I needed to trust it with my life. I needed to trust it like how a skydiver trusts their parachute cord. Like, they have to trust that thing is going to save them. But with this, I can trust it even more, and I know it even more to be true. And it, you know, it saves. I knew it saved my eternal life. That's what Jesus said. So yeah, that's kind of how I came to that.
Wow, that is amazing. And I think there's so much there for people to chew on and think about. But I just wanted to close up the interview with one final question, which is kind of back to this topic of exclusivity, you know, and why are Christians so exclusive? Now that you've made that journey and you became a Christian and all that, you know, looking back and drawing from your own story, what's something you would like to say to people who really struggle with this question, who really have this question? And what's something you would want to say to people who really struggle with this question?
You know, something that I would just like to say that maybe might make you think a little bit differently about Christianity when compared to other religions, right, is that it's very unique in how one is saved. And what do I mean by that in reference to other religions? And what I mean by that is that so many other religions will tell you this is what you need to do to achieve enlightenment, heaven, nirvana, so on and so forth. Or maybe here's what's wrong with you, and this is what you have to do to fix it. You know, I hope you do it well enough. But Christianity is very plain and upfront when it says you can't do it. It's already been done for you, and just believe it. And something that is the most beautiful about that statement is when you understand why God did it for you, it's out of love. And that really did cut to my own heart. And I think if you have that open mind, you'll come to see that Christianity does accurately describe your own condition. And I think in my own journey, I did well, and I know you will do well if you can keep your biases in check. I mean, I have gone over like debates that I had watched when I was an atheist. I'd gone over them after I became a Christian, and you know, I kind of realized, I was like, man, I wasn't seeing what these people were really saying. I was just only ever looking for confirmation for what I already had believed. I didn't have an open mind at all at the time, and I'm really thankful that I was able to have an open mind and seek the truth. So that would be my advice: have an open mind and seek the truth honestly.
Yeah, I think that's really well spoken. Have an open mind, seek the truth, and man, here's something that's really unique about Christianity. It makes it stand out among all the other religions, right? And so I think that's a great place to end. Thank you so much for your time, Trevor.
Yeah,
really appreciate
my pleasure.
you sharing your story with us. And I think there's a lot there for people to think about.
Thank you, Trevor, for sharing. It's pretty cool to see how he didn't shy away from confronting the big and often difficult questions in life, like, does my life have meaning? You know, what is my purpose? And is there more to life? And I don't know about you guys, but there's something comfortable about not knowing the answers to that.
Yeah.
And as they say, like, ignorance is bliss. And, well, in his case, because ignorance is bliss, because what if you don't like the answer that you find?
Yeah.
You know, like, what if it's not something that you really want for your life? But as Trevor explored those questions, he took the time to weigh the different claims to truth that he was hearing and to come to his own conclusion about them. And I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think it took a lot of courage for him to do that, and I think it shows something interesting about Christianity, which is that you can like go and investigate it. You can go and test it and find evidence and weigh it, right? And that's really the intellectual side of the journey. But for Trevor, there was this more personal side, right? When he saw himself as a sinner. Now, that word, sin, has a lot of baggage, and I think a lot of people don't like that word. That's one of those exclusive words, right? If you say someone's a sinner, it's like you did something really bad, now you're part of this little group labeled sinner, and you're less because of it, right?
And one of the first words that comes to mind when I hear sinner is like the word judgment, and my immediate response to that is kind of really defensive because it like kind of irks you. And so my response is like, you know, who are you to judge me?
Right.
Right? Like, you don't know me, right? Like, you're not perfect yourself, so, you know, like, back off, bro. Like, come at me, you know?
I can tell it really bothers you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, because of that, like, man, a lot of Christians just don't want to talk about sin, right? It's like, it's almost a bad word, and for good reason, right? Like, if everyone's going to have that kind of reaction, let's just focus on the positive things in the Bible and not talk about sin, right? There's just one problem, though. Jesus talked a lot about sin. It was a central part of his message and his mission. And I think one passage that really captures it is from Mark chapter 2. And it goes like this. It says, "And as he reclined at table in his house, many tax collectors and sinners were reclining with Jesus and his disciples, for there are many who followed him. And the scribes of the Pharisees, when they saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, said to his disciples, 'Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?' And when Jesus heard it, he said to them, 'Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I came not to call the righteous, but sinners.'" So I just want to point out two things about this text first. The first thing I want to point out is how inclusive Jesus is. I mean, you might not see it, but this is a dinner party full of tax collectors and sinners. In other words, lowlifes, the outcasts, people everybody looked down on and hated. And yet, here's Jesus hanging out with them. He didn't push them away, right? He didn't say, "I don't hang out with people like you." And I think the lesson here is that if you ever felt like you can't come to Jesus because you've got too much baggage in your past or you're too unholy, nothing could be further from the truth. It was exactly those kinds of people who came around and felt drawn to Jesus. Now, the second thing I want to point out is that in contrast, the Pharisees were really exclusive. I mean, they look at Jesus and they're shocked. They're like, "Why are you hanging out with these people," right? And their point of view is that as a religious, righteous person, I don't hang out with people like that. It's a very exclusive sort of view. It's like, you're not part of my circle, right? I think it's really easy for us to look at the Pharisees and judge them and be like, dude, what's wrong with them? But I think if we're honest, in a way, aren't we like the Pharisees? Like, we don't want to admit we're sinners. Our default is to think of ourselves as better than that. And the way we do that is we often compare ourselves with others. Hey, look at that guy. I'm not as bad as him. And the ironic thing we do when we do that, the ironic thing is that we end up being the ones who are being exclusive.
Yeah, actually, Pharisee is my middle name. Okay, that's
Really?
not funny. That's not funny.
Thanks,
But I thought that God would approve of me if I kept all these religious regulations up, like the Pharisees did. Like, the more I followed all the rules, the more favor I could gain with God, and I constantly compared myself to other people. Like, at least I don't partake in this vice or that vice. But then in trying to maintain this polished outward appearance and that self-righteous attitude, I just kept missing out on really being known by Jesus.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Your self-righteous attitude kept you from Jesus. It made you miss out on Jesus. And so then raises that question, right? Like, who's doing the excluding here? You know? If you look at verse 17, Jesus says, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I came not to call the righteous, but sinners." And so boom, right there you have Jesus' mission statement. You know, this is why Jesus hung out with tax collectors and sinners. These guys had no illusions about themselves. They knew they were sinners. Everybody knew they were sinners. And that's why they were drawn to Jesus. They knew they were sick. They knew they needed a doctor. And so they went to Jesus. And Jesus welcomed them with kindness and compassion. That was his mission. And the question Jesus poses to these Pharisees is, are you sick? Are you a sinner? So if you step back and you look at that, he's actually including them, right? Healing is available to everyone, sinner and Pharisee, right? But the Pharisees didn't think they needed it. They excluded themselves from it because they didn't think they were sinners. So to answer the question, why are Christians so exclusive? We talked about it earlier. You know, truth claims are exclusive. That's just the nature of truth. And we need to look at the evidence and find out what exactly is true. But the truth of Christianity is actually very inclusive. It's an open invitation to everyone to come and know and be healed by Jesus. We exclude ourselves from that invitation when we say, I don't need healing. I'm not sick. I'm not a sinner. But you know what? The invitation is still there. If we would humbly admit, I'm sick, I'm a sinner, Jesus' healing is offered to us, no matter who we are. It's offered to everyone.
Yeah, so to close this time, we've asked our band to prepare a song for us. It's called Till I Met You. And I think this song really captures someone who's able to admit that they're a sinner, but they get to experience Jesus' healing, mercy, and love. So, band, take it away.
I've known pain and deep regret. I've known the weight of my mistakes like the back of my hand. I've known deception and all its games. I've known the way it feels to drown in my own shame. But I never knew love, I never knew truth, I never knew peace, the sweet release that brought me through. I never knew freedom, what grace could do. The broken chains, the hope that saves a life made new. Till I met you. I've known rejections, I've bought the lie that I can never overcome the hurt inside. With arms of mercy